I guess I'm wondering how many of you in this room can point to a calendar, a particular year, and a specific date, and identify it as the worst day of your life. I can. It was May 24th, 1988, the day I turned 30 years old. As it turns out, throughout my 20s, unbeknownst to me, and all the while as I thought I was gaining and growing in success, I was on a collision course for emotional darkness. The bottom had fallen out of my life, which is to say, my identity had wandered to the point where I did not know who or what I was. Acute anxiety reigned supreme. Panic attacks were the order of the day, culminating on that black 30th birthday. I was a mess, an emotional wreck who spent the better part of his 20s in intellectual pursuits. I achieved an undergraduate degree in the life sciences, a master's in pure mathematics. I was teaching both at a prominent prep school as well as university in summer and in the evenings. I dated often, but I ran at the first hint of intimacy. My life, though filled, left me unfulfilled. Curiously, there was a line from the scene in the movie version of the musical A Chorus Line that routinely brought tears to my eyes. Who am I anyway? Am I my resume? I sought help. A Jewish therapist by the name of Joel began the slow, arduous process of rebuilding a Catholic man-boy who had somehow lost his way. During the next year, I did the difficult, demanding work. Joel received all the paychecks. It was expensive, financially and emotionally. A year later, in the summer of 1989, an opportunity emerged. My American best friend Tom asked me to be the best man at his wedding in Germany. I made the easy, instant, you can forget that decision, knowing that no suitcase was big enough to contain my fears, my panic, my anxieties. Tom asked again and again after several guys had canceled. Somehow, something deep and compelling was calling me to Germany. Incredibly, Tom asked a fourth time, and I took the plunge. I landed in Hamburg, drove my rental further north to a little village called Kranberg, entered the beautiful thatched roof house of the home in which Tom was staying, peered across the living room at a young lady sitting on the sofa, and had a deep, calling, deep moment, a feeling that I had somehow known this woman for years, this woman who in 3 years' time would become my wife. Underscore the word feeling, something I had been learning in group and individual sessions with Joel's support. I returned to America and literally invested my sense of self into the most important course I ever took, Me 101. At around this time, I had also rediscovered some old letters, some journal entries, and some rudimentary poems that I had written throughout my 20s. Angry, confused meanderings, attempting to align my feelings of displacement with something more meaningful. They were, in a word, rubbish. As it turns out, I put them on the back burner. Suffice it to say that during the next years, Joel helped build a bridge between the life I had had and the life I would come to know with Barbara. I was gaining, reestablishing an identity grounded in intimacy, learning to risk, when and where I had never risked before. An opportunity arose. A surprise opening at an international school in Belgium brought us to Europe. Starting a family was our goal. Not falling apart so far from my therapist was mine. The year in Belgium was tough, but it opened a backdoor opportunity to interview locally here at ISD. I got the job, Barbara got pregnant, and we were sailing. A new identity reared its beautiful head. Daddy. We had a second, and in the summer of 1998, we vacationed in America. The trip was tough. The kids were small, they were confused, out of their routines. I felt half American, half European, and half crazy. And you don't need me as a mathematics teacher to tell you that 3 halves do not make a whole. My identity was still forming. Some pieces were in place, but if you were to paint my emotional face, it was more Picasso than Warhol. Upon our return to Germany, I culled through those angry writings. At this exact same time, I read an article about the singer-songwriter Enya and her creative process. She would apparently sit at the piano for hours, immersed in the music, simply lost in its leadings, all the while recording those sessions. She would then play back those recordings and search for little melodies, little combinations of notes, something that would jump out at her. She would extract those pieces and build a song around that. That was how she created art. I revisited those old angry writings, scrutinized them a bit more carefully, and sure enough, every once in a while, a word combination, a phrase, even a sentence would jump out at me. That has real power, I thought, real potential. Hey, that resonates. I extracted those words, sprinkled in some newfound insights from my new life with Barbara and my time in therapy, and began in earnest some of the most prolific poetry writing of my entire life. The majority of the poems that I've written between 1998, our vacation time in America, and 2008, the year my father died, will be what you'll see quickly on the screen here behind me. During that 10-year period, I had not set foot on American soil, yet relived, revisited, and even rejoiced in some of the particulars, people, and places that, as it turns out, have shaped who and what I am. Here's the thing. These poems may not mean very much to you, but for me, they are of profound importance. They literally represent a lifeline in a lifetime of forces that have shaped and sculpted my sense of self. Whether the sprawling Indian paths in Fairmount Park, the safe wallpapered cocoon of Joel's office, the beaches of Ocean City, New Jersey, a little place in North Germany called Kranberg, odes to friends and family fallen too young or too untimely, the city of brotherly love itself, or an attempt to capture my alcoholic father's rage, these represent the stuff of my identity. The construction of these poems, like the sculpting of granite, allowed me to go deep while chiseling to find out what was beneath the rock. Finally, Joel once said to me, "Life isn't fair, Daniel. It's only true." I encourage each of you to seek your truth. Accept it, respect it, and don't be afraid to seek a little help along the way. Without therapists, mentors, in-laws, a family doctor, and one former particular DP coordinator of this very school, whose office I sought as a sanctuary on a regular basis, I may never have come to unfurl my flag of poetry within. Thank you.